He stood by the window with his hands in his pockets, staring outside as if the world beyond the glass mattered more than anything happening inside the room. He didn't smile at my jokes, didn't lean in to join the conversation. I brushed it off at first, thinking he was tired, stressed, maybe just distracted. But then came the first moment that twisted something deep inside me. A friend laughed and said, "Honestly, James, you look like you've had a rough week. Don't worry. Tonight's all about fun." James didn't laugh. He didn't respond. He just nodded slightly, eyes distant, and drifted back into silence. I tried again, nudging him gently into conversation, smiling, even telling a joke only he would understand. Nothing. No flicker of acknowledgement, no spark, no warmth. The party moved on without him. People ate, danced, chatted, and the room filled with laughter. But every time I glanced at him, my heart sank a little deeper. There was a coldness in him, a quiet I hadn't felt in months. Dread began to creep in, slow and heavy. During a lull in the music, I leaned in and whispered, "Are you okay? You've barely said a word tonight." He met my eyes for barely a second. They looked empty, unreadable. He gave a small nod and walked away. My chest tightened. Something was wrong, and I had no idea how to reach him. Hours passed. The laughter around me grew louder, almost mocking. I forced myself to smile, trying to pretend everything was fine. But deep down I knew better. His silence wasn't ordinary. Then it happened. I was handing out dessert when I realized he wasn't anywhere in the living room. I figured he'd gone to the kitchen or stepped outside for air. But the hallway was empty. The balcony was empty. The bathroom was empty. I called his name softly. Then louder. Nothing. Panic rose inside me as I searched, trying to keep calm for the guests. My hands were shaking. My smile felt brittle. "Is everything okay?" a friend asked. I shook my head slightly, afraid that if I spoke, the truth would spill out. And then I heard it. The sound of the front door opening, followed by steady, deliberate footsteps fading away from the house. I froze. He wasn't joking. He wasn't taking a breather. He was leaving. I ran to the door and caught a glimpse of him walking down the driveway, his coat barely thrown over his shoulders, not looking back. Not once. He didn't say a word. He didn't hesitate. Shock rooted me in place. Guests stared. Whispers spread. Heat flushed through my face. Embarrassment, confusion, hurt all tangled together. I want to call out to him, demand an explanation, cry, scream. Anything. But no words came out. Someone touched my arm gently, murmuring, maybe he just needed air. But I knew this wasn't a momentary mood. It was a choice, sharp, silent, final. The rest of the night blurred into meaningless conversations, hollow laughter, and forced smiles. Every glance toward the door felt like a knife twisting deeper. By the time the last guest left, I was alone with the remnants of a night that was supposed to be filled with joy. Half-empty glasses, discarded napkins, faint perfume lingering in the air. But the house felt colder than ever. I sank into a chair, staring at the door he had walked out of. How could someone I had shared dreams, laughter, and future plans would disappear in a single moment? I didn't understand it then, not fully, but I felt it. This wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of a reckoning I hadn't seen coming. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed and an even emptier silence. James still hadn't returned. My phone buzzed with messages from friends who had witnessed the scene. I couldn't bring myself to read them. I walked through the house like a ghost. The shattered glass in the sink made me jump. The faint scent of his cologne in the hallway made my chest ache. His jacket on the back of the sofa felt like a cruel reminder that he had left without taking anything but himself. Hours passed. No call. No message. I tried reaching him. Texts, voicemails, anything to get a trace of him. Nothing. By afternoon, I was unraveling, replaying every detail from the night before. The silence, the distant eyes, the way he walked past me without a glance. How had I missed the signs? Then my phone buzzed, a message from his friend Marcus. He's gone, not coming back tonight. Just letting you know. The world tilted. My stomach dropped. My heart squeezed painfully. This wasn't temporary. This was intentional. I tried calling again. More silence. Anger simmered beneath the fear. How could someone I had trusted and loved simply vanish without a word? By evening, exhaustion pressed down on me. I couldn't eat, couldn't think. Every sound felt like a reminder that he was out there somewhere, choosing a life that no longer included me. The next day, an email arrived from him. Short, clinical, devastating. I needed space. I needed to see what life was like without the tension. I'll explain when I'm ready. Please respect that. I read it over and over, each word hitting harder than the last. Space, tension, walls, no anger, no blame, just distance, cold and decisive. Days turned into a week. Still nothing from him. Friends tried to help, but no one could fix what had quietly broken so completely. Then one evening, the doorbell rang. My heart leapt with hope, foolish and desperate. But it wasn't James. It was his mother. Her eyes held sympathy and something heavier. She handed me a small envelope. "I think he wants you to have this," she said. Inside was a note in his precise handwriting. I didn't walk out because I stopped caring. I walked out because what we had became a shadow of what it used to be. You deserve someone present, someone who laughs with you, who notices you, who doesn't disappear behind silence. I hope you find that. I hope you find yourself. Tears fell hard. Rage, grief, longing, all tangled together. He hadn't left out of cruelty. He left because the love that had once held us together had faded quietly. So quietly that neither of us noticed until it was too late. Weeks later, he returned briefly, not to reconcile, but to close the last few open doors. The conversation was simple, emotionless. He didn't apologize. He didn't argue. He just looked at me and said, "I hope you understand why I had to go. Not just for me, but for both of us." And then he walked out again, as quietly as before. But this time it didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like clarity. In the months that followed, I started to rebuild. The house no longer felt suffocating. Laughter found its way back into my days. Friends brought warmth. Slowly, painfully, I began to understand that freedom isn't the absence of someone. It's the presence of self-respect and the strength to move forward. James walked out without saying a word. And in doing so, he delivered the loudest truth of all. Sometimes love doesn't end with anger or betrayal. Sometimes it just fades, quietly, leaving you with the courage to begin again. And I did